So, Charlie Chaplin, interesting guy. I'm going to post a couple of links I want you to take a look at and read about him. A comical genius. From the moment he pops up on the scene in 1915 and kind of develops his character as the tramp, the little tramp, he becomes an American sensation. People couldn't get enough of his movies. He was a hit. Within just a matter of a couple years, he goes from making just a small amount of money to the wealthiest actor in Hollywood. Within 4 years, he, along with Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford and Lillian Gish, I believe, a couple other actors, formed the United Artists Studio and began producing their own movies. To put this, on top of just being a good actor, Charlie Chaplin directs his movies. He writes his movies. He does the music for his movies. He produces his movies. He is involved in every aspect of production. And so for a man from this era, it is quite an amazing feat, and he accomplished much. And so from 1915 to 1936 here, 21 years later, modern times really is a reflection of all of his movies, if you will. And there's one other very unique aspect about this movie. It is his first talking picture, or a talkie as they called him back in the day. It's his first movie with sound. And so there's actors in it that talk, there's a lot of sound effects, there's music that is actually synced up with the movie itself, and we get a very rare insight. We actually get to hear for the very first time Charlie Chaplin's voice. Now, he's not talking, but he does sing quite an incredible song at the end of the movie. So it's definitely worthwhile to stick around and check out that end. Now, that being said, from a very artistic point of view, a wonderfully created movie. It's actually a very funny movie, but it also has a lot of social commentary and perhaps some political commentary attached to it. And so some people watching this movie back in the day, 1936, were a little upset with his view of America and his view of what our working conditions were like for the working man, and what the social outcome was of this sort of situation. And then there were those that just said, you know what, it's just a comedy, it's just a movie, and let me just be entertained by it. So as you watch this movie, I want you to look at the write-up that I gave you to download, and begin to ask yourself some of these questions here. I say in there, is it a good film? And I think most people, I've shown this movie many times, will say it is a funny movie. There are some really funny parts to it. Is it realistic? Ask yourself that question. Is it artistic? Is it sophisticated, or is it a bit naive? And then you can begin to ask yourself, does it have some political agenda to it? If it does, is it a communist agenda? Is it a socialist agenda? Or maybe is it just somebody asking some honest questions? But nonetheless, ask yourself those questions, and I want to hear your original thoughts. The idea of these papers are not to necessarily, excuse me, get the right answer. There's not necessarily, in this particular case, 2 + 2 = 4. What I'm looking for is just that you are thinking through this, that there's some critical thought, and that you're beginning to develop some original ideas reflecting cinema. A lot of us, and I'm in this too at times, watch movies and it just literally goes in, we enjoy it for the moment, and it goes back out. And sometimes there's some residue that sticks around. We think about it from time to time. Are movies just to be for the moment? Or could there actually be something powerful in cinema that can influence us, that can move us, that can shape us, etc.? So that's kind of the idea behind some of these assignments. And I want you to think too, excuse me, I put this question in there, do comedies make it a little easier to ask harder questions about ourselves? Now, The Grapes of Wrath is from 1939. It deals with the Depression, but it's kind of like whack. across our heads. It deals with the dark subject, and it is somewhat depressing, no pun intended. When we watch a movie like this, Modern Times, and we laugh, but yet we're asked to deal with some of these questions, does it candy coat it? Does it make it easier for us to maybe drop our defenses and deal with some social questions that we're not normally comfortable to deal with? You know, and you can even take it a little further. Do we do this today, 70, 80 years later? Are there some movies that we go to and we laugh at certain things that normally, if they were presented to us, we'd be like, you know what, I don't agree with that. Morally, I think that's repulsive. Or, you know what, I just don't accept that. That's just not something I want to be a part of. And so sometimes movies have this ability to shape us as a people and, in a sense, to influence our culture. So I post several questions there for you. It's a 2 to 3 page paper. I want your original thoughts. If you go and read some other people's ideas to get your thoughts flowing, that's fine. If you get some of those ideas from them, quote them, please. That's my most important request of you. Is if it's a significant influence, give them a quote. Give them a little prop of their hard work. But I look forward to reading your papers and seeing what you thought about this movie, what you think about culture, and how movies and culture have that kind of influence. I'm going to be posting a couple live dates. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the last video. They're live chats, and I want you to sign up for those and be a part of them. They'll be coming here in the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to talking with you soon. All right, take care now. Bye-bye.